Yep, yep. Those are the three. Surprisingly, like we say, Scarlet Time Australia Special hasn't been able to
Yeah,
perform anywhere
he's
near
made
as
to the
well
semis a couple of
in
times,
these.
but yeah, unfortunately not quite making it all the way.
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, it's cool that we
Yeah,
have time here. You know, he definitely has a shot. But so does his opponent in RagnaroK.
that almost rhymed. Appreciate it. Time has a
If it
shot,
did, it
but
was
so does his
unintentional.
opponent. His name is RagnaroK.
God damn it! God damn it! Just reminding you to set up casting.
It was not.
Updated, but,
Thank you for the update. I will be getting down in the next series. But speaking of the next series, we are now here in the right-hand side of the map, spawning all the way in the right-hand side of Golden Wall. We're starting to see it a lot more now as we're getting to the end of tonight. The Red Terran coming down all the way from the land of China. He is the one who is the land after Jim. Representing KaiZ Gaming, KZJ, we have Time.
I appreciate the references to previous casts, but a lot of a lot of people watching don't quite understand what you're going for. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Golden Wall LE, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Alpha X. It is RagnaroK.
One of the biggest surprise announcements from Sushi. Hey, RagnaroK just left, or he didn't leave, but Black Knight Gaming just suspended. We're gonna pick up RagnaroK.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a solid pickup as well. Like RagnaroK, he's one of those players who he isn't just a pro player, but he's also a personality. He's actually quite famous in the Korean scene. Yeah, he has a big following, especially like on YouTube and things of that nature.
He is the biggest blogger, I think, or vlogger. I think nowadays TY is trying to give him a bit of a run for his money, but yeah, it is basically just RagnaroK giving us all the insights.
Yeah, it's really cool that this is like a byproduct of things like Kespa shutting down. Is that like there are some Korean players who obviously it began with the Korean players streaming, and now like they've found themselves in a more like well, some of them have found themselves in a more content creator like scenario and direction in their careers, and it's really cool that they've been able to come out and do this, right? It's cool that like you would never think that RagnaroK is going to be, you know, like the logo of the Korean scene or something along those
Somehow
lines.
he is.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, very much is. I can kind of tell there were a couple of players here and there who, while they were on Kesra, they were kind of itching to do a little bit of this kind of stuff here and there.
I feel like the big one is probably parting,
100%.
right?
But then he also left
Yeah.
Kesra before he disbanded, so...
True, very true. There's quite a tale to tell there. And once again, game number one, somehow we're on Golden Wall.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're just trying to get it out of the way fast. I mean, Golden Wall, it's not the worst map in the current map pool. It's... You give your opponent a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, you give yourself opportunity.
That you do, right? And as you said, like, these are best of five, so both players only get one veto each. I imagine Submarine is probably the one that they've been vetoing. I'm not too sure what the other one would have been, but yeah, Golden Wall did slip through the cracks, and because it's a best of five, we do actually get to see this. You know, if it's a best of three, it's a lot more unlikely. So yeah, I mean, I'm very much so excited.
And speaking of what's exciting me right now, like Time going for a 3cc before Starport, is starting to make a bit of a comeback, I feel.
Yeah, I love this more greedy opener, focusing on your economy and ramping up more in the mid
Especially on a
game.
map like Golden Wall, we've seen a lot of Terran players just immediately float their third base to that gold location and just keep parade pushing and just slowly starve out the Zerg player with really efficient trades.
Yeah. I believe we casted a game of that nature not too long ago. Can't quite remember which one. Yeah, there we go. I was thinking Azure. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's all coming back to me. But yeah, so we may see something of that nature come out from Time as he's getting that faster TC. We'll see if he goes for that gold or goes for one of the more regular bases. Meanwhile, RagnaroK, you know, he's just trying to ramp up as well, getting his third hatchery underway. Nothing too crazy, you know, like fast lair or anything like that.
He is definitely looking to pressure as much as he can, but doesn't quite find anything.
Yeah, I say nothing too crazy, but he's making quite a large number of lings, and he stopped his workers at 35. He's going for a Bane bus, actually.
This is pretty scary coming up from Time. His Hellions he really needs to make sure that they don't get caught out.
God.
Already being surrounded, but a nice little kiting back and forth here.
Yeah, and this is actually really well done. He's able to kill a lot of these things. Meanwhile, the Banelings have all been morphed here at the third base location, looking to try and bust into the natural of Time.
It is, surprisingly. And yeah, there's just not a lot here. There are now Marines. So if Time is really on top of his sniping, he can try to take them out. 2 Hellions do survive, and, you know, Time, he really needs as much as he possibly can to be anti-Ling Bane.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know if he's realized what is coming his way, because again, like, no more workers have come, and oh, he's going for a drop! Oh no! Like, RagnaroK, he stopped exactly at 35, he hasn't made a single drone in the past couple of minutes, and he's going for that Bane bust.
He may not even need to. The wall is open. Time has spotted this. And honestly, he just goes for these E-bays. Denying this 1-1 is going to be huge, but he does bust on through. Forces the army of Time back, but to be honest, this is a pretty good army for Time. It will rely a lot on using choke points, you know, not getting surrounded. But I'm not sure if that's going to be happening right now.
Yeah.
RagnaroK has forced his way in.
Yeah, the Banes busted through the wall at the top of the ramp. The Lings are on top of the production. 25 SCVs do go down. The damage has been done. Even if Time cleans this up, like, oh my god, RagnaroK has just done so much.
He's got a gold base. Silver lining.
He does have a gold base. He does have triple CC. You're not wrong here. Mules are pretty good, but oh my god, like so much has been done. He does hold on to his NGs though, engineering base, which is honestly quite surprising.
He's going to finish up. Time still has just about double the army supply. Okay, not anymore, but he's still got a much better army. And Time, I think both of us, you're in agreement with me here. He's one of the better micro players out currently. I absolutely believe he can get things done with this army.
Yeah. So we're in this weird situation. So RagnaroK, he still does not have a lair. So baneling speed is not a thing. These are going to be slow banelings. So the potential for snipes, for focus fire is there for Time. And Time, he kept his engineering base alive. So the upgrades are going to be kicking in. So there is an opportunity here for Time to trade efficiently. But he is on a timer.
I get it. And he does dive right on in, trying to get as many snipes as he can. Snipes almost every baneling, and a hot pickup before he could get splashed on with those others. Very nicely done. Another second and he'd been toast.
Yeah, definitely. One more second and the banelings would have landed. Meanwhile, he cancels all these banelings in production as well. Only 3 remaining for RagnaroK.
A little too quickly. Anything can really happen, but look at these snipes, though. So many of these links are starting to go down, and now Time has done it.
He's done it. He's done it.
Time taking game number 1. You don't want to know a fun fact, like...
Wow.
35 is 10 less than 45.
Accurate maths, facts being spit out here on stream, and oh my god. And yeah, as we were saying, like, Time, he held, and I don't know if it was like a misstep or I don't know, but the fact that those engineering bays stayed alive, like the upgrades kicking in, and yeah, I guess Time, he just held on with just enough with those 3 CCs that he was able to just push out, and oh my god, like like everything kind of lined up, right? Like, because RagnaroK, he had no lair, he had no baneling speed, like it was so difficult for him to hold.
It really was, and that was very impressive, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the chat reacts, because they've gotten to the point where the damage was done and now Time is about to push across the map.
To be able to hold that without Hellions and without siege tanks, Very
It's impressive.
much so is. And speaking of impressive, we are now here with the player who impressed us quite a bit. He is going to be spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning in the top left-hand corner of the Death Aura. He is coming out all the way from the land of China, going to be representing TvZ Gaming, KZJ. Gotta have that lightning bolt. The team with the most Terran. I could be wrong there. In fact, I'm probably wrong. The Red Terran. He is Time. A thief.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Alpha X. It is RagnaroK.
Now I got a confession to make here, Light. Time,
Go on.
he's my boy. I'm still gonna be there, and still gonna be cheering him on, no matter what. But I think lately, my eyes have shifted to another foreign Terran. A young little prodigy by the name of Clement.
Wow. So right now what you're saying is you're no longer a Time fan? Is that what you're saying?
How'd you get to there?
Yeah, I'm pulling a steal, alright? I'm starting drama, okay? That's all I want.
That ain't gonna fly here. Everyone can see right through ya.
But yeah, I mean, Clem, he's been really impressive. He's been performing so well in recent months. But that's also why I'm curious to see how Time does, because I agree that for the first half of the year, it feels like Time has been very quiet. There hasn't really been like any major like events or any major performances that we can look at and be like, oh, Time is on fire. But this could be his moment, you know. He's performing well here in these weeklies.
Hopefully a moment that's a start of many moments.
Yeah, definitely. Like everyone loves to see Time, especially. I think he made a name for himself when did he take out Cyril, or was it like a close series? Like
that Cyril eventually won, but Time I think was the only Terran player during ASUS ROG 2019 who could really give Cyril a run for his money.
Yeah, and I think that event really put him on the map, like internationally, so that everyone had their eyes on him, and he garnered a lot of fans from that. So we'll see how he does here.
Then he beat Maru at BlizzCon. He lost in a rematch, but he beat Maru.
Yeah, it was so hype when that happened. It was a shame because it was one of those things where he played a certain way in the first series and he kept playing that same way in the second one, and Maru was able to adapt. But regardless, like, yeah, Time, he's been able to perform incredibly well throughout his career, you know, overtaking Jim as the best Chinese player in the region. So yeah, we'll see how he does here tonight against Ragnarok.
Well, so far he's just doing the more standard builds coming out. Went for a 30cc before starport earlier, this time going for a 1-1-1.
Yeah. I'm not sure typical 1-1-1, as there is no production switch, so it's not like a Banshee or anything along those lines. He is prioritizing Stim instead, and we've seen this opener be like quite popular in recent times, as opposed to the more older style. Yeah.
And we can kind of see why. It's one of the more versatile TvZ openings you can go for. Hellions, unless they go for a Roach Rush, which you really should be scouting. Unless they go for a Roach Rush, Hellions are a good offensive unit. They're decent on defense if they try to send a couple of run-bys, and most importantly, they're probably your best bet for map presence this early on.
Yeah, definitely. As we do see Time with those 6 Hellions, as well as his Reaper pushing out across the map. We have the third TC as part of the wall as well here at the natural. So yeah, just ramping up. Stim should be done pretty soon as well. And I was just keeping an eye on it. RagnaroK, he has joined up this game, so not looking to go for anything like in Golden Wall.
Lucky number. Thank you, Phoenix Cheers, for that one.
Yeah, so both players playing this out pretty standard. Not too sure of that reference, but okay. And yeah, you know, RagnaroK going for a more normal like lair timing, getting a Baneling nest as well. He has a decent queen count for defense. So yeah, just heading into a more macro oriented game here, which I'm not opposed to. This is what I live for.
Absolutely, especially in TvZ, which can really go in a really dynamic way. You oftentimes in TvZ see the favor swing back and forth like a pendulum. Nice little run by here from Time. Does actually take out... Do we have Game Heart? We do have Game Heart. Actually only takes out one drone so far.
Yeah, he tried to dive in, but the queens were in position. There were also a lot of lings, so the Hellions didn't really get into the mineral line. Meanwhile, this Viking being very ambitious landing here, trying to take out this queen, but I don't think it has the DPS.
Ambitious is probably the best word for it.
Yeah.
As
it's like, I got this, he lands, and...
I was definitely surprised when I saw that Viking come across this side of the map.
Yeah, really interesting to see, but it did end up getting taken out. And yeah, both players, they do kind of just bounce off each other. These Hellions weren't able to deal the damage they wanted. RagnaroK, he's able to get his 4th base with the lair. Finally, we do see Baneling speed on the way as well, so yeah, we're going to be seeing Ling Bane at least. I'm just curious to see what RagnaroK throws down, if he goes for a Spire, a Hydralisk Den, or goes right into Hide.
It looks like it's going to be that 3rd one. As with a macro hatch such as this, without any other tech out, I have a feeling we're just going to see a pretty aggressive Ling Bane into Ultra. I guess it's more defensive if it's just pure Ling Bane.
Yeah, honestly, I really like this style. You do need that macro hatch because you're playing so Ling Bane heavy. You just don't have the larva to spend your money efficiently, so you do need that macro hatch. And yeah, we'll see how he's able to hold on as he does throw down that Hydralisk Den.
That's still something that you kind of want to need. So yeah, RagnaroK isn't quite going to be playing like Dark here. He's going to make sure that he knows who he's up against. He knows that Time is going to be pretty aggressive out, so he does need the Hydras to catch drops or to just have a little bit more meat to his army. Very nice snipes coming out here from Time, and the hot pickup on top of that. It's been a while since I could really see a player able to do that.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. Like, Time's control is just on point. You just love seeing him snipe those Banelings and pick up just at the last moment. And here we go. This is the position that you want to be. That you want to make sure you have creep spread in, as it's so difficult to hold against these tank pushes. Already all the creep cleared here by really Time.
Risk that you take when you sort of put all your eggs in one basket or all your creep tumors in one area. It's good for, it's good just to have a lot of options for later on. But yeah. It's quite a bit of a risk. Nice little bit of flank here. The Lynx should be able to take out this tank before the Marines go down. The tank is getting low light, but actually cleaned out. The Marines are the absolute MVP here.
Wow, the tank was able to stay alive, and that means that this push, it's not stopping. Like, with that reinforcing tank, he will be able to continue to apply pressure, but the Lings are coming around.
Finally take out the tanks, but not a lot of a Ling buffer here. Much more snipes being happened on those Marines. But I think RagnaroK may have defended well enough, may have bought himself enough time. He is expanding, getting a 5th base here, or in the southern location, and his 2-2 is, okay, it's on the way. But he does also have a pretty good handful of Hydralisks out. It's going to be a lot harder for Time to hot pick up.
Yeah, definitely, as one of the tanks gets caught on siege.
Immediately taken out. RagnaroK backing off with that. He knows that his damage has been done, and he should not overstay his welcome. But these Marines, they are stimmed, and again, there's not a lot of a buffer for these Banelings.
Oh, yeah, and he does fall back to that tank. Another reinforcing tank does join the fray, so there are 2 tanks here. There we go, he does siege up, and oh god!
Starting to go down this map. Time just running back until he can find enough distance to snipe. But it's a little bit of a flank with the Lings. That may just be enough for RagnaroK.
Yeah, now that there are no tanks here, Time is forced, or should be forced back, as there are just naked Marines. There is no more anchor point. Instead, opting to go for some more creep clearing, which is quite nice, getting what damage he can, as, oh god, the reinforcements, he actually catches the Lings.
Yeah. Those Lings are trying to snipe reinforcements, but the reinforcements ended up sniping the Lings. Funnily enough, hot pickup here. Does manage to lose a medevac, but does keep his more important medevacs alive.
Yeah, and I love how Time, he just doesn't stop the aggression. Like, he continues to rally across the map to this position, continuing to get tanks. But it's so important that RagnaroK, like, over time, he's been able to stop the tank count from getting too high. Like, there's only one here.
That is, as you're saying, he's very aggressive, and that's part of why I kind of fell in love with Time. But it has its downsides. When you're being this aggressive, you really have to get damage done, and you really cannot afford to be trading like Time is right now. Because eventually we'll get to the point where RagnaroK reaches critical mass, I want to say, but it's more of critical tech.
Yeah, and they're actually this Ling run by to the third base is actually getting a lot of damage done. 13 SCVs went down. Meanwhile, Time did go for that drop, but it didn't really get any damage at all.
Downsides of parade pushing like this, just leaving yourself exposed or economy exposed.
That you do. Something important to note, though, is that as Time has been pressuring this base constantly, it's the health of that hatchery has been going down and down, so it is actually quite vulnerable at the moment to be sniped.
And if he's able to take out that hatchery, eventually, will he be able to get it? He does, but he loses his entire marine count. Look at the army supply right now, and a lot of that for Time. There is in-depth medevacs.
Yeah, I don't know if that was worth it. Like, we saw the wheels turning in his mind. He's like, oh, that hatchery is so low. Light just mentioned it on in the cast. I'm gonna go for it. And he went for it, but he lost almost all his marines.
To 2 minutes in the future. I've been able to hear Light mention that.
Exactly, like, oh my god, it was so greedy for him to do that.
May be crazy, but it kind of looked like Time was trying to hot pick up there right towards the end, but those banelings, man, they only need to hit once sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, like the AoE on them is quite large, and just like that, sure, Time killed the base, but he lost a lot of supply doing that. Like you could have done that while, like, over time, you know, continue to do whatever you're doing, because that base was getting lower and lower as time progressed, but Time, he was quite greedy, dove on it, and now, like, RagnaroK, he's in a pretty good position.
Has progressed, and look at the tank count. I think that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. RagnaroK just being able to pick off tanks one by one, and they can get kind of unstoppable if you let them.
Exactly, like earlier there were like 1, 2, 3 max tanks here in this position, but now we have 5 here, sorry, 6 even, but ooh, RagnaroK is trying to engage.
Split here from RagnaroK's army. It should just be enough, and actually way more than enough. Time trying to snipe like his life depends on it, because it kind of does. But once again, the bio and the tanks have been wiped out. A couple of lurkers taken out here from Time, but this time the base does still survive.
It does. It is quite low, so he could do the same move and just dive on top of it. I hope he doesn't.
I hope not.
Exactly. Yeah. It's tempting. It's tempting to do, to say the least. But what was important about that previous engagement is that there were a lot of tanks, but there wasn't a lot of marines to protect them, and that's why RagnaroK was able to pounce on that army.
And I think another factor that really comes in, oh, nice snipe on the base. That's where you get it. Army not quite in position. But I think another factor is that these lurkers did not have seismic spines earlier on. Time really could jump right in front of them and start punishing that base. This time they do, but the base still goes down.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see how this goes, as RagnaroK, he did lose that base once again, but the entire time, like, he was expanding to the left-hand side of the map, you know, and for the most part, it's been left, like, unhindered. Like, the creep spread is quite nice on that side as well, so he's looking to be in a really good position, defensively at least, over on this side of the map. They're
both getting them in a pretty close location. I really like that RagnaroK has gone for the Rich Vespine base. As he is approaching his late game, he's gonna need that gas for his late game tech. But a little bit exposed, as you can see right now.
Yeah, he does force a cancel on that base, as the creep spread isn't quite on that high ground, so Time, you know, really nicely done, starving RagnaroK a little bit, as RagnaroK is struggling to get another base. Oh my god, that's a massive tank line there by Time.
RagnaroK is not getting that Rich Vespine base for the time being, and that's actually hurted quite a bit. RagnaroK, he's doing really well, he's got a lot of workers, but he's got a lot of workers mining minerals. He does not quite have what he needs in terms of gas.
Yeah. I will say that RagnaroK, he's finally getting these higher tech units. He has Vipers now with his main army as they are engaging here on the left-hand side of the map.
This may just be about it. The Blinding Clouds were brilliant here from RagnaroK. I think RagnaroK may just have a lot of momentum, but here come the reinforcements, and a lot of Ling Bane has been taken out. But the bio stims right on top of the lurkers.
Ooh.
RagnaroK being able to borrow right at the last second. Nice little bit of snipes here, and surprisingly, the armies kind of wipe each other out.
Yeah, that was actually, those snipes were amazing. He was able to target down those lurkers. I was concerned when the lurkers managed to get on the high ground that Time was going to struggle to regain himself there in that position, but with those snipes, he was able to take them all out and push out across the map. He has to be careful though not to get surrounded.
He's got a lot of medevacs for a hot pickup. He is being a little bit greedy here, but this time there are no banelings for RagnaroK to punish Time's greed, and so he does get a base pretty much for free.
That he does, and we'll see if he continues to apply pressure here on the left or if he rotates over to the right. Regardless, RagnaroK, he is struggling to get another hatchery going. Meanwhile, Time, he was able to secure himself here, getting another CC. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see whether RagnaroK is going to tech up into something else. Like, are we going to see Ultras at some point, or is he going to stick with this Hydra Ling Bane lurker style?
Well, he does have the Hive, but you're right, he hasn't really made much use of that. I mean, he got a bunch of Vipers, and he got his lurker upgrades, as well as his 3-3. But, yeah, are lurkers what you want as your endgame, Lloyd, for CBT?
Yeah, we've seen this become a lot more popular in recent times, like lurkers in late game ZVT. I'm still not entirely sure if I like it more than ultras or broodlords. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But we'll see as the armies are kind of missing each other.
So are. And this could just be a base trade if it gets a little out of hand. Yeah, Time is definitely going to have to evacuate that base. RagnaroK going to have to evacuate this one. I think we may have just gotten to base trade central, but RagnaroK is turning around, realizes that he cannot win a base trade against a Terran player like Time, who can really set up his siege lines.
Yeah, definitely. Like, another hatchery goes down, and it looks like RagnaroK is going to be forced home to try and defend this. I mean, 20 SCVs did go down across the map. Time did lose a base, but Time, he's just expanding to the right-hand side. Like, I feel like this is something that he could afford more so than RagnaroK. But
these ghosts are very exposed, but beautiful EMPs manages to get most of the Vipers. Doesn't matter in the end, though. RagnaroK had the sheer numbers to force his way onto those tanks and forces Time on the back foot.
Oh, that it does. Nicely done there. The EMPs were amazing, but the ground army was just enough from RagnaroK to take that fight, and now the lurkers are pushing on forward. It does have to be careful, though. Again, they are vulnerable to these ghosts, to the snipes.
Indeed, they are. Overseers now coming into play, just in case any of these ghosts decides to cloak. But they do not. And Unsiege. This is an opportunity here right now for RagnaroK. Snipes are being thrown down. Not quite going to be able to kill these lurkers though, and I would be a little bit more cautious if I was in Time's shoes, as RagnaroK does have not seismic spines, the other one, adaptive talons. He can borrow these lurkers right on the flip of switch.
Yeah, he does have to be careful here. It's a battle of like the sieges, right? Like the tanks and the lurkers, and Time looking for an opportunity to go in for those snipes. And as I don't believe the Vipers are here with the army.
They are not. I think they may have been sniped. No, they were going back to consume. Alright, the Vipers are here, and they're looking to get some Blinding Clouds in. I'm looking at the Ghosts right now, just trying to see what they can get done. And it seems like they decide to snipe. And they do manage to get some snipes off. Beautiful Blinding Clouds right now for RagnaroK.
Ooh.
But a nice little bit of an EMP, and I think Time may have just won this engagement. GG's called by RagnaroK. Time on match point. And I gotta tell you, Light,
wow.
My sort of bias is kind of here. You know, I'm always thinking, yeah, Time is a little bit more favorite than RagnaroK. I did not think it was gonna be that close, though.
Yeah, wow. GG. Time takes game number 2, I believe, correct? That was game number 2?
That was game number 2.
Yeah. And so he's up 2-0. And this is a best of 5. He only needs one more to make it all the way to the finals.
TT does for the second time of his ESL Open Cup career, going up against Stats, which for the second time he's gonna face. No, he's probably faced Stats a lot more than that.
I also I also apologize because I do notice that, like, for me, it was unintentional. But we did say time a lot during that cast.
We just start calling him Pain Hun.
And I will say that people have pointed out that there does seem to be like an audio sync issue. Yeah, it does seem like the video is a little bit ahead, or sorry, behind the audio, or it's unsynced in some way. So I think the only way to fix that for us is to restart OBS. I would say that we should probably wait until this series is over and then remake. Sorry, then restart OBS.
Give that a shot. And we are now back, ladies and gentlemen, for what could potentially be the final, our final map of this semifinals. It is, in fact, going to be Everdream LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We have a red Terran player coming out all the way from China, going to be representing KyZ Gaming, KZG. He is Time.
And sorry again for that, as the stream actually did catch all of that, as when you go live, even with the delay, like that all gets streamed live. It's just on a delay. So they did hear all of that. Yeah, we did restart OBS to try and fix the audio issues. The audio desync, unfortunately, the stream went down. And the delay was discarded, and it cut off the end of that last game. Time, of course, did win it, and it will be available on YouTube in our VODs, but yeah, we really do apologize. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Everdream LE, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Alpha X. It is RagnaroK.
And this is a game where we're on match point of on Everdream. Do you think RagnaroK is going to risk too much?
Yeah. Again, apologies to everyone for cutting off that last game short. It was all recorded locally, so it will be available. But yeah, I guess recapping towards the end, they did engage in that final fight. Time, his snipes were on point. RagnaroK, he did blinding cloud the majority of the tanks, but there was just enough bio, just enough ghosts to end up winning that engagement, killing all the lurkers, and yeah, Time just starved RagnaroK out.
Really did. RagnaroK kind of saw the writing on the wall by the time that engagement finished up and just noped right on out.
Yeah. That he did, and we are on match point. Sorry, we have to recompose ourselves. Like, again, like, apologies. It's but we have, the show must go on. And yeah, we'll see how Time does. Again, we were talking about how, like, as the game was ending, we didn't expect Time to be as dominant in this series against RagnaroK. We think, me and you especially, we think very highly of RagnaroK. We're kind of fans to his style and how well he's been doing this year. But Time already up 2-0 in this series.
Very much is. And I'm not really sure how RagnaroK decides to come back here. To be fair, both games, 1 and number 2, were very close. So it could just be a case of RagnaroK deciding, I'm going to do what I did earlier, but I'm going to do it better.
Yeah, like, again, I was talking about it earlier in the previous game, where I'm not too sure how I feel about the army composition for RagnaroK in that late game scenario. Like, Ling Bane, Hydra, into Lurkers and Vipers, like, I don't know. It makes it difficult to engage into the Terran army, as we saw, and we'll see if he opts to go for something similar or something a little bit different. I mean, something that we already see being different is that he is working on that lair already. I'm not too sure if that's a big tell, but there's no other tech buildings at the moment, which is a little bit odd. Like, there's no Baneling Nest or anything like that.
I wonder. Let's look at the gas count. It is only 2 for the time being.
Yeah, I'm also keeping an eye on the gas count as well to see if more get taken. Meanwhile, Time, he is going for, or he did go for this more typical 1-1-1, more standard into
yeah, a lot
Banshees.
more of a maneuverable unit compared to Liberators. Definitely a lot better on a map like Everdream. In case your Zerg opponent decides to be a little bit more aggressive, Banshees are going to be a much better defensive unit, at least at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. And this did get, you know, spotted, so RagnaroK, he does already have spores in position. He has a decent queen count as well, and we were thinking about it. That early lair was a sign for this Spire.
Indeed it is. Not quite a 2-base Muta, but still very quick Muta. The first time we're going to be seeing it in this series.
Yeah, RagnaroK again showing us that he isn't, you know, averse from playing different styles. Like game 1, he went for a Ling Bane bust. Game 2, more macro oriented. Here we do see him whip out the mutas. So yeah, just showing how versatile he is in this matchup. We'll see how it works though, as you know, time and time again, time has been able to hold.
Much was.
That one was intentional.
Yeah, I just ignored because it felt like it.
Nice, good job. But yeah, we'll see how this progresses, as I don't believe Time has quite spotted the Spire just yet, so he is a little bit unawares. This could potentially catch him off guard. He has seen the lair though. I don't know if that's too much of a tell.
Well, seeing the lair this early on is a tell, for one thing. We haven't really seen Time go for any sort of scans or any sort of scouts into the natural base. So still playing it out a little bit greedy, I want to say, not quite getting those turrets up just yet, but he does have a pretty healthy marine count to him, so would be doing a little bit better, but does rely on having to be in position to face those mutas.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see how this goes, as it looks like Time, he is pushing out across the map, which I'm a little bit concerned about, as the mutas are coming out as well. Yeah, he's looking to try and push here with only one tank.
And is it gonna be enough? It very well may be. There is no Baneling Nest as of yet. No, there is a Baneling Nest, but there is no Baneling Speed as of yet, but there is Baneling Speed.
Yeah, and the mutas do pounce up on the tank. The tank does fall, and with that, the push does get thwarted. Time is forced back, and again, like the army here, oh, he does run into his reinforcements though, so Time is able to hold.
And does manage to, once again, get his units in position where they need to be, and just deal with each of these Zerg units one by one, kind of.
Yeah, and the mutalisks, like, they are trying to find like reinforcements, sharking around the army all the time, trying to pick off what they can, but Time not really leaving too many of his units vulnerable, so he is able to keep most of them alive, and yeah, just continuing to apply pressure here at the 4th base.
And it's really awkward for RagnaroK to engage into, but I do like what he's using with his mutalisks, trying to find an opportunity to get the tanks here and there. Did manage to get a medevac at the very least. Time really making sure that his tanks aren't too exposed.
Yeah, continuing to apply pressure here, and the mutalisks, again, they found a medevac, but not too much else. Time has to be so careful to babysit his units to make sure nothing gets left for those mutalisks to pick off. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, this push still hasn't really done too much. He hasn't found an opportunity to push in. Meanwhile, RagnaroK going for a counterattack.
And this is going to be a potent one. There are just no defenses here right now for Time. Because again, with the style he goes for, he is really sending every unit he's got to the front lines. Just about an entire mineral line being taken out. But I think Time has decided to use this as an opportunity to just jump right onto this 4th base.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be trading base for base, but again, Time is forced back to 2 base economy. Meanwhile, RagnaroK, he's expanding to the left-hand side, so he could afford to lose that base. And what's important is he lost the base, but he didn't lose too many drones.
Time may have kept his base alive, but he is not going to be able to mine from it anytime soon.
Yeah, he's trying to retake it, but he did lose a lot of SCVs in the process. We do see already the disparity in supplies, as RagnaroK, he's been able to just trade so much more efficiently and just get away with so much more greed. And now Time, he's pushing through the center of the map, but RagnaroK, he's having none of it. He's just counterattacking.
Very much is, and this could actually be the base trade that we were kind of thinking was going to happen. Both armies are just about even, but if it does come down to that, RagnaroK is the one with the flying units.
Exactly. So even though Terrans can lift their buildings, like the Mutalists will be able to hunt them down. Immediately, Time does jump on top of a base, and it looks like he's picking up and he's lifting everything to come to his army.
Sending his SCVs wherever he can in case he needs to build a base here and there, or in case he can. RagnaroK is now maxed on out. I feel like this is going to be not quite a war of attrition, but pretty close. And I don't think Time can win this.
Yeah, we can see on the minimap RagnaroK, he is coming back home with the entirety of his army. RagnaroK is actually maxed out, and oh god, the Bailings!
They do jump on top of just about everything, and RagnaroK is going to be staying in this series. GG is called. Time is not making it to the finals, at least not yet.
It is not yet his time, as RagnaroK puts a point on the board, and we are continuing this series. Again, let us know. Hopefully the audio sync issue is sorted out. Again, apologies. We are trying to continue on with this, and hopefully like everything's smooth, especially for the finals. But yeah, like I'm glad this isn't a stomp. I'm glad this isn't too one-sided. Like I was worried that Time was going to 3-0, and I'm a big Time fan, but at the same time, I didn't want, you know, RagnaroK to go out like that.
Yeah, definitely. Because again, it's just kind of a shame when you have two players who are so evenly matched that if one of them just gets taken out in a 3-0, it almost feels like you're getting robbed of a lot of more opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you know, let's not forget that as all this is happening, we do have stats waiting for the victor of this series. And I'm not too sure who I want to face him. Regardless,
actually,
you know,
think about it, it's RagnaroK that we're talking about. Yeah, I was gonna say, we've seen Time and Stats play against each other, and those have been some pretty close games as well. But I feel like RagnaroK is another player who can really start cracking that Shield of Ire. Not quite in the same way as Dark, who just tries to overwhelm Stats, but in a much more kind of intelligent build kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. As we are now getting into Pillars of Gold, and this is a map where I think the consensus is that it is more Zerg favored, right? So this could be an opportunity for RagnaroK to claw himself back in and take it all the way to the
I'm not
ace.
sure if it's consensus anymore, so much as it's maybe truth. But that is still out there. Here we are on Pillars of Gold, as you were saying, L to the E. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have our red Terran player coming down all the way from the land of China. He is in that team with all of the other great Terrans of this time, except for Dream and Cure and TY, but yeah, the other great Terrans of this moment. TvZ, we have Time.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Pillars of Gold LE, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Alpha X. It is RagnaroK.
And yeah, as you were saying, Pillars of Gold, a much more Zerg favorite map.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was half expecting Time to proxy.
Just to avoid that.
I wouldn't have been surprised if this is the map that he would go for something like that. But no, Time, you know, the Rax is at home. He's playing this straight up.
Yeah, this time he is. Well, he's been playing straight up throughout this entire series, so I guess that's not quite how it works.
Yeah, so again, the Rax is here. He's going for that SCV scout. So pretty standard opener here from both players. Nothing too cheeky, nothing too crazy. And we'll see how this progresses. As last game, we didn't really get to talk much about it, but RagnaroK, it did feel like he was quite dominant in that, like playing with his Mutalists. The pushes for Time were they felt a lot weaker. I don't know if that had much to do with Everdream itself, like being a shorter rush distance map, but yeah, like RagnaroK, he actually looks really dominant there.
Yeah, I feel like RagnaroK kind of knew. He may or may not have already, what's the term I'm thinking of right now? Like, he may not have already determined how Time likes to play, and sort of realized that if I can get some Mutalisks out and really control the map instead of letting Time control the map, then I should be in a much better position.
Yeah, and I mean, Pillars of Gold isn't a bad map for Mutalisks. You know, it is quite long. There's a lot of room for them to maneuver around. So, you know, we may see that again. At the same time, obviously, like Time, like he's an adaptive player. Like he knows how the previous game went out. I'm sure that he already has ideas on how like he could have improved upon his play and how he would have changed. So yeah, like regardless, I'd love to see how these two adapt and evolve in this game number 4.
We'll have to find out eventually. No 3CC before Starport coming out this time for Time. Or should I say Paynon, because I feel like that word is starting to lose meaning to us. Oh.
Yeah, it's
But RagnaroK is switching things up a lot, and this is actually something I like coming out from RagnaroK on a map like Pillars of Gold. Going for, I guess it's not quite a roach rush, but yeah, gonna be asserting himself very early on with those roaches, just trying to see if he can get some concaves. This map does lend itself to having those sort of natural surrounds.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how RagnaroK plays this out. I'm curious to see like whether he stops droning or whether he continues, if he goes for like a really aggressive roach play, or this is how he wants to play this out. Something I want to tell you a little bit about the Latin American scene. Roach Hydra story has kind of made a resurgence in this matchup, and it really caught us off guard seeing it.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, we might see that here, but yeah, it was really odd to see. We're like, what? Why is this competition here? In saying that, though, it does seem like RagnaroK is going for a more aggressive push. He did stop droning up. He's making nothing but lings as well to support these roaches.
How is Time's defense is looking right now? Trying to get this wall up. And does actually get it. But what is going to be supporting that wall?
Exactly. The problem is that he doesn't know that this is coming his way. Like, he has no idea. Like,
you went for the octuple Hellion variant.
Oh god, like you need tanks, you need like these heavy factory units to try and hold this, or even like Banshees or Liberators or something, like pure Hellion Marine. It's gonna be so difficult. I mean, yeah, we'll see how he's able to hold here.
Well, he is sending the Liberator back home.
The Liberator comes back home.
As you were saying, the Liberator not quite a Banshee in terms of early game defense. There are a lot of Hellions right now, and the Roaches are starting to get thinned out. So these Hellions could actually do a pretty good job of just acting as a bit of a buffer. Has Time been able to hold this? RagnaroK still hanging back with his Lings. Not really willing to send them into that many Hellions right now, but he is starting to get in. Very nice surrounds. Takes out 11 SCVs already. I love Time's unsieging and resieging his Liberator, and he has just about held it. He lost quite a number of SCVs, but he has held it.
Ooh, and yeah, the Liberator stands strong. As you were pointing out, I love seeing it as well. He just continued to unsiege and resiege his Liberator, keeping it alive, but it does finally fall.
Just let me say that.
But just in time for, a second Liberator to come up.
One.
Ooh, that there can, and the Lings are flooding in, and this time maybe
RagnaroK... there was a good choke point for the Hellions, but it looks like RagnaroK able to brute force his way on through. There are just 2 Hellions and a bunker worth of units up here. Lings are starting to get thinned out, and actually the Ravager count getting pretty low. But again, even more SCVs being taken out. Look at the worker supply difference. This is game-ending damage if Time isn't able to just somehow pull off a miracle and keep RagnaroK back.
Exactly, like there is a big difference between this game and the game on Golden Wall. Like both similarly, like RagnaroK went for like this big aggressive push to deal the game-ending damage, and Time did survive. But this time, like there's no engineering base for upgrades. There's nothing really lining up for Time, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to deal counter damage and try and claw himself back into this.
And in the Golden Wall game, that was also the case of Time just trading so efficiently in his defense, still having an army that was double RagnaroK's army count. This time they trade just about evenly. And Time, he's got the upper hand for now. RagnaroK deciding to drone up pretty hard, knowing that the damage has already been done, but this is an army with not a lot of sustain to it, only 1 medevac, and it doesn't quite have a lot of energy to it.
Yeah, I mean, the stars are gonna have to align for Time to you know, deal some counter damage, and he does have a tank with this. You know, there aren't quite enough Ravagers to bow down the tank, but he's going to be focusing it down anyway.
Does especially get the Ravagers, time does. And right now, really good starter sets coming out, but it's only so much Marines can really do against Roaches. And RagnaroK deflects this, takes out quite a number of valuable units while he does so.
Yeah, and I mean, Time, he does have triple CC, and he does have triple mules, which is nice. But again, like, he needs to deal counter damage. He needs to keep RagnaroK busy on the other side of the map, which is what he's doing, right? Like, he's doing what he can. He's trying to claw himself back into this as best he can, but RagnaroK, he's having none of it. Like, he wasn't greedy, he didn't overdrone. Like, he has an army here to help defend.
Very much does, and even has a couple of spare links to try to go for some run buys. You'll be able to get at least a SCV with this.
Yeah. I mean, luckily there were reinforcements there for Time, so he was able to defend quite nicely. You know, so he does hold on to his third, but as that was happening, RagnaroK, he's getting a fourth. He's still ahead in those workers. I will say the one thing going for Time is also that I'm not really too approving of RagnaroK's army composition. It does fall off eventually, like Roach Ravager, Ling, but like Time, he still also needs to catch up and get an army strong enough to face
I think RagnaroK
this.
has realized that, and he is just using this composition right now to defend against these pushes. Time, one of the most aggressive Terran players out there right now. He keeps going for these, not even quite timings, but he just wants to have that presence on the map. And he's actually doing a decent job right now. Because of the hatchery, this Roach Ravager isn't quite able to get the concaves that RagnaroK wants to get. But,
ooh, and because of the lack of anti-air, he picks up, he also drops into the main base, but reinforcements are here to meet him, so the damage isn't quite being done here. And
he loses both tanks here, and that is not at all what Time wanted to have happen. RagnaroK pretty much tripling the army supply of Time right now, and things are looking pretty rough, to say the least. He is more than willing to sacrifice this fourth base in order to just put Time down.
After losing those two tanks, I feel like RagnaroK smells blood in the water. I think he knows that there can't be too much at home to defend, forces a liftoff at the third base, and RagnaroK is here killing more and more SCVs. But to be fair, there are two tanks here defensively at the natural.
In a position for these Ravagers to really pile them down, but he still does have to be a little bit careful. Losing a lot more of his economy, and I'm kind of worried right now that RagnaroK is just going to starve out Time. He's just going to park himself right outside his national base, and your move.
Exactly, like RagnaroK, he has this big force, and sure, he may have trouble pushing into the natural, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to stop Time from getting out of his natural, right? And RagnaroK, he can just expand and take all the other bases, which is why I do like this. You know, Time, he's sending out a Liberator, he's sending out a drop to try and deal some damage across the map, but RagnaroK does spot it. I think he spotted it with a Ling, so he should be able to you know, have his army situated at home. Regardless, though, Time, he's trying to find something. He's trying to get something done with these drops.
Yeah, and that is really one of the only ways that Time can really come back in this game. Is he has to buy himself a lot of time. I was trying to think of another word, but I couldn't quite think of it.
I was trying as well. I was trying to think of another word.
If we're gonna try RagnaroK for long enough,
yeah,
that doesn't matter. RagnaroK is going to be maxed out. It's going to be the question of what he does with it.
Yeah, we'll see. As this main army, like, it is meeting with the Roach Ravager in the center of the map. Meanwhile, the drop is, you know, it hasn't quite yet gone into the main base. We will see. Again, like, RagnaroK is kind of ready for it. And nice focus fire, at least, here on the banelings.
Behind that, but I feel like we're at the point economically where Time really cannot afford to lose just a handful of Marines here and there, because the cost of them to rebuild is going to stack up.
Yeah, and as the game has progressed, now RagnaroK, he's basically maxed out. You know, we should see him pushing out fairly soon. Defensively, Time, he needs like the best like tank lines possible.
It's not to have them, yeah.
He's just pushing out.
He's just pushing right on out. The best defense is, as some may say, a good offense. So Time is just trying to, once again, force the engagement. Nice little drop in the back lines here from Time. Should be able to get a couple of units out, but will be cleaned out by those those banelings.
Yeah, meanwhile, we do have the main army pushing into here, the 4th base of RagnaroK. There is Lingbane Rush Ravager here, but, you know, maybe Time can find a good engagement. At the same time, there are run-bys at the bases of Time.
How many times can we say that game-ending damage has been dealt here, Light?
Oh god, I mean, props to Time. He's trying his best to you know, make RagnaroK work for it. But once again, Time is forced back to 2-base economy.
The army supplies are about even, and like you said, Roach Ravager Lingbane isn't really the most efficient army supply. But all RagnaroK really has to do is wipe this army out, and Time will be in a position where he cannot rebuild his army, whereas RagnaroK will be able to go for a counterattack and drive the point home.
Exactly, like that. It did feel like that was the last hope of Time, like that main army, and he traded as best he could. He traded as best anyone could, and at the end of the day, like, the supplies were just too high in number for RagnaroK. He collapsed on that army, he destroyed it. Time, he does have another force here. He's picking off more roaches, which is nice, but he needs to do so much with this. Like, he needs to kill like 2-3 bases. Like, he's still on 2-base economy. Time is.
He very much so is. A really good job on RagnaroK for keeping them down. Here comes the boys, and this is the most all-in that you can really get as a Terran player.
Yeah, he knows, like, this is everything that he has, and we'll see if it's enough. Like, the Lingbane, like, it does seem like it is in RagnaroK's favor, but nice pre-split here from Time.
Pretty far in RagnaroK's favor, I should say, but as you're saying, a really good pre-split coming out here. RagnaroK now adding a couple of Vipers to his army, but how much is that going to matter? The SCV is doing a pretty good job of just tanking a couple of Baneling hits. That's a good cloud. And the Banelings do make their way in. A beautiful surround coming in from every direction here from RagnaroK. And this is just about going to be it. GG is called. RagnaroK ties it up. And we get our ace match.
GG. I mean, to be fair, RagnaroK, he was looking in a really good position early on. Time, he just, you know, was in there for as long as he could. He fought as best he could, but he just took so much early game damage. Like, it just was almost impossible for him to come back. And with that, we are getting into our ace match.
We are getting into the ace match. I know a lot of people are excited to get to that finals. Stats is probably waiting there thinking, why am I waiting? But you will have to wait at least one more game.
Yeah, at most, and unless, you know, there is some kind of issue and we are having to remake, but here we go. I'm curious to see what the final map will be.
Our final map is going to be a map that is Warvy.
Yes, we are going to be playing on Golden Wall.
Golden Wall at the start.
Eternal Empire. We did. I was just trying to think. All right, Submarine was vetoed, and what was the other one? Ice and Chrome was vetoed. All right.
For good reason. Well, I don't really have a good reason. I just don't like that.
I was gonna say, do you dislike it more than Pillars of Gold?
Nah. Yes.
Yes.
Maybe.
All right.
It's a hard thing to quantify, and speaking of hard things to quantify, so is the namesake of our player here, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, of Eternal Empire, L-E-E-L-E, where we do in fact have our red Terran player coming out all the way from the land of China. He is on that team with many Terran players, and also Deer. Representing TvZ Gaming, KZG, we have Time.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Eternal Empire LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Alpha X. It is RagnaroK.
the ace match.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes. It is going to be on Eternal Empire, so we could be in for a longer one. And yeah, we'll see. Again, Time, like, he has diversified his openers a little bit here and there. Like, he has gone for Banshee openers, gone for faster TCs. I'm just really curious to see what RagnaroK decides to throw at him, because he's the one who's been really, you know, doing things that are, I don't want to say unorthodox, but like, you know, he's been going for Roach Ravager pushes, going for Spire play, going for Ling Bane all-ins.
It's less so much of playing unorthodox. Okay, you're right there, and you're right there with Ling Bane opening is a little bit unorthodox. Are we frozen? Are we frozen?
Oh. Yes.
Am I frozen?
No, it's you. No.
Well, had to happen eventually.
F's in the chat. Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, it's we've been a little bit unlucky today, unfortunately, with technical issues. And yeah, I mean, obviously we'll try and get it sorted out for the next broadcast. Next broadcast will be tomorrow. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a shame this is happening. Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
Oh, thank God. All right, everyone, cross your Ethernet cables, pray and hope that Singaporean internet can hold strong for us here today, and get us through these final two series.
Yeah, here is hoping. Yeah, it's definitely be a good one. Would hope to have to drop it off in the ace match.
Yeah, it would have been such a shame, but we are here for now. Thankfully, we are here for the ace match. God willing, or internet willing, even NBN fiber internet. We'll see. And you know, we were just talking about like RagnaroK and the way he's been playing out this series, and whether, you know, will he whip out anything strange here in the ace match, or play it a little bit more standard.
Well, just judging on how the trajectory of the series went down, seems like he will be playing it a bit more standard. I say that as he goes for a 3cc before starport.
Ooh, Time being a little bit greedy here. I like it, especially on a map like Eternal Empire. It's quite large, so it's a little bit more difficult to punish something like
large,
this.
It sticks around a lot. It's going to be really hard to really be able to get your run-bys in, and pretty easy to get your defenses in place. At this stage of the game, though, as we go further on, the expansion options, there's quite a bit of a gap between them.
Yeah. It's interesting how this map differs compared to all the others in the map pool. And yeah, again, interesting that this will be the final map of this series. So we'll see. Again, it looks like Time may get away with this. We'll see if RagnaroK is able to go in for a scout. And we'll see what RagnaroK decides to go for. He's been having Mutalisk play. We could see maybe Hydras again. Maybe whip out a Dark style like fast. Oh, no. Okay, we have a fast lair.
We have a fast lair. And 2 more gases have been taken. Is it going to be that Roach Horn, or is it going to be that Spire Light?
Ooh, I mean, I have to imagine it's going to be for the Spire. There's a decent queen count, but not too many, so I don't think it's going to be for Nidus. I can't imagine. As there we go, all 4 gases are being taken. It looks like RagnaroK, he loved the way that Everdream played out. He's going to be going for more Mutalisks. Watch him throw down an Infestation Pit.
Infestors, you know, that's what you want. Gotta be able to get the fungus,
it's possible.
So you get your Ling Bane in.
We shall see. As so far, Baneless is being thrown down, you know, going Ling Bane, quite standard. And there it is! Phew. I can breathe easy. It is, in fact, that Spire.
And it is gonna be... Again, I feel like RagnaroK has figured out how he wants to play against Time. You know, the first 2 maps, a little bit shaky. RagnaroK just trying to really wean out how his opponent was gonna play. And now he knows that Time, he's one to really take the initiative, one to really want to get map presence. With either Roaches or Mutalisks, RagnaroK is looking to deny that as much as he can.
Yeah, definitely. And ooh, pretty interesting. We have Time actually throwing down an armory behind this as well quite quickly. So we could be seeing a pretty strong bio Hellbat push quite shortly. And I'm curious to see how this is going to fare against the Ling Bane Muta. I mean, honestly, that would actually work perfectly against Ling Bane Muta, not gonna lie. Like, yeah, Widowmines do quite well.
I think he's getting a safety tank. No, but that's just for the third barracks. Not gonna be swapping the add-ons quite yet. So yeah, I think you were right. It is gonna be that Hellbat Marine push, which is a little bit controversial nowadays. Hellbats, they do soak up a little bit of damage, but not quite as much as Marauders. So yeah, you do have some people saying that it's not quite as worth it.
Yeah, and this could deal a lot of damage as Baneling's only just being morphed in. There weren't any morphed in previously, so 7's still on the way. Nothing quite yet. Only Ling, Queen, Muta at the moment.
If he targets it down.
Oh, he could, but he's opting. He's trying to make sure. Yeah, nice transfuses. The Banelings are done.
They are finished up, and Time is gonna have a hot pickup, but unfortunately, a little bit of an awkward body blocking there for most of Time's army. Did prevent a lot of it, and these medevacs have been straight up denied and deflected.
Oh, yeah, and again, like Time, he didn't really know about this Spire play coming out from RagnaroK, so he went into this blind, and unfortunately, like, if it was a ground-based army, he would have been able to get away with it, like, just lifting up, going right into the main base, but because the mutas were there, the drops were completely shut down, and RagnaroK, he barely took any losses there.
Very much so. Yeah, and this is really how you want to play it out on Eternal Empire. You want to be deflecting these engagements, have your army left over, and as RagnaroK shows, go for a lot of expansions behind that.
Yeah, I love this from RagnaroK. Like, as soon as he defended, double expands. Like, he's greedy, but he can do it, right? Like, he has the Mutas for map control, so because of that, like, it's going to be so risky for Time to go for drops or to move out across the map anytime soon. And yeah, here we go. RagnaroK, he's investing more and more into these Mutas, 4 more on the way.
And this is just about exactly what RagnaroK wants. And he can afford them, considering the double expand coming out.
Yeah, definitely. And I do love this. You know, we were just talking about it. Time, he is getting drilling claws. He is transitioning into Widowmines, which, I mean, that's what you want against this kind of army composition. And yeah, Time, he is slowly expanding. It's just that he is forfeiting the map control that he had previously and is, you know, forced to stay at home for the time being.
Not quite sure how well practiced Time is in these sort of situations, but yeah, when you have your Zerg opponent take this map control, you want to give it to them and try to ideally you start building up a push behind that, which Time is starting to do, getting his 2-2 on the way. Drilling Claws about halfway done.
Yeah, Thor is on the way as well, which will help out immensely against the Mutalisks. And yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Again, like, it takes a madman to go for drops when there are Mutalisks out on the map. Like, you can do it, but it's just so risky.
Time is on the same team as Bunny, so you never know.
That is true. As for both players, you know, 2-2 is on the way. Will be done a little bit faster for Time. Drilling Claws is going to finish up as well. And Time just setting himself defensively, you know, throwing down more sensor towers, expanding, and yeah, RagnaroK just trying to find some kind of damage with these Mutalisks.
And they're getting a little bit here and there. They're, you know, getting a refinery, getting 1 or 2 SCVs before they can, before they really start to get picked off. But there's a bit of a timer on this, and RagnaroK does know it, so Infestation Pit is going to be finishing up pretty soon. He wants to go into his endgame tech, as he knows at Time he is willing to counter 2 Mutiling Bane.
Yeah, definitely. And now RagnaroK, he's basically taken his half of the map. So many bases have been taken. He's close to maxing out. To be fair, though, Time isn't too far behind. Like, his army is still very comparable to that of RagnaroK, especially defensively.
Yeah, and RagnaroK, he's poking in here and there, just trying to see what he can get done. But as he said, Time has just built himself a defense line that is going to be pretty hard to crack.
Yeah, like, and as this has been going on, RagnaroK taking more expansions, even expanding to the top left as well. And like, why not, right? Like, the Terran army isn't moving anywhere. He is getting Hive. It's not quite done yet. And we'll see what he does with that Hive. We'll see if he opts to go for Greater Spire, for Vipers or Ultralisks. You know, anything's really.
When you go this,
Yeah,
when you invest this much into Mutas early on, you're banking on your Terran opponent getting not as many Marauders, getting not as many tanks. And incidentally, those are the two units that you typically want to see versus Ultralisks. Not the only ones, but they are kind of units that you want.
Yeah, definitely. And oh, it looks like RagnaroK is going to find some exposed tanks here.
Just a little bit out of position. I don't think these realists are long for this world, as there is a bit of a surround between the turrets and the Marines. But I do manage to make their way into the main base, and this is where a lot of the production and the tech is. A Thor does treasure drop right on top of that, but how is the magic boxing? Pretty decent.
Oh yeah, and I feel like we've reached that point where RagnaroK was maxed out and he wants to try and shave off and trade these realists. He dives in, deals some decent damage. I think the best thing that he got were those 3 tanks, but you know, he does get deflected in the end. Really nice Thor micro there by Time, and yeah, we just kind of progress, and you called it. Ultralisks on the way.
Go. Thankfully, Time, I don't want to say he's realized that this is coming up, but he is starting to build Ghosts, kind of the unit that you do need in your late game in a TvZ. And incidentally, one of the units that deal the best against Ultras.
That they do. I mean, Ghosts are good against almost all late game armies. Like late game tech from the Zerg, like whether it's Viper, Ultra, or Broodlord. Snipes are just so good. But yeah, we'll see if he's able to determine that it is Ultras to also try and incorporate Liberators as well. Just like get the best army that you could. As he was trying to push out across the map, but looks like RagnaroK is actually trying to slip around. Oh god, that's a lot of Banelings. Oh god.
It's a lot of Banelings, and it will be enough to take out a Planetary. But nice little bit of SimCity. Supposed a couple of these Banelings had pop prematurely, but still enough left over to take out that Planetary Fortress. And we're seeing a bit of a returning trend here. RagnaroK just really trying to starve out Time.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage done there. He was able to kill a Planetary, 2 morphing in CCs, as well as pulling the army all the way back, exposing the front lines so the Mutalisks could get in and get some more damage done. Regardless though, like, they both have pretty decent economies, so they are still maxed out. It's just that RagnaroK is trading a little bit more efficiently, but finally we do see Time comfortable enough to go for these drops and go for these multi-prong attacks.
He's sending him out. And I wasn't sure how to add to that.
Yeah, that he is. 2 medevacs off to the north, 1 to the south. At the same time, the main army of Time is here in the center of the map. We'll see if any of these drops can find any damage. Oh, he does end up running into these Banelings. The Banelings looking to get another Planetary,
That's what they're looking for, but this time the Planetary is not quite going to be there. And the main army of Time is going to be there. And that's a massive splash. Just about all the Ghosts taken out, and most of the bio behind that.
Jesus Christ. Like, Time, his attention was on the drops instead, and that was a hefty loss. The Banelings didn't just crush into the bio. They, as you said, they crushed into so many Ghosts there. That was just such an expensive loss for Time.
This may just snowball itself. I do not see Time having enough to really contest against the army of RagnaroK. Now, to be fair, RagnaroK is a little bit unwilling to engage just yet. He is waiting for his +3 flyer weapons, and he is not waiting for Ultralisk, as he is maxed out and cannot get them.
Yeah, so a little bit lucky there for Time, I guess, that his opponent is maxed out and can't get the army he needs. But yeah, like, what's lucky is that Time is able to buy enough time to regain his ghost count and max out once again. But there's just so much Ling Bane.
What are Ghosts going to do against this much Ling Bane? You want them against Broodlords, you want them against Ultras, not against units that are 35 health each.
Exactly. He may have teched up a little bit too quickly. Like, he has the composition for a late game army, but not for this Ling Bane army, as the Banelings once again going towards that southern base.
Take it out with a lot more to spare. Quick pickups here on top of these orbital commands. Time really trying to keep them alive as much as possible. even trying to get this base.
Yeah,
but the creep, it's just going to deny him once more. I do not see Time getting another base up anytime soon.
Exactly. He's now starting to move out with his main army, though. And what's curious is that RagnaroK, even though he cleared up a lot of supply with those banelings, he just remade more Ling Bane. He's not making any ultras.
I think maybe he might have realized there are Liberators and Ghosts out. I don't want to just suicide my resources like that.
Exactly. Yeah. He knows that Ling Bane is going to trade better than Ultraless against his army, and here we go. He's going in.
But this is a Wings of Liberty, so the armor tag works a little bit differently.
Yeah, and regardless, like, because of the massive bank that RagnaroK has, he can just keep doing that. He can just keep sending banelings across the map. It doesn't matter how inefficient he's being.
Honestly, yeah. And I think he has realized that we are now at that point. I don't know, I'm still a little bit worried about his army. There we go, starting to work on Infestors coming out for RagnaroK. I think he really does kind of need those fungals. I think just one perfect engagement from Time, and again, it's Time we're talking about. I do believe he can get a perfect engagement. Just one of them is going to be enough for Time to be able to go for a counterattack and really turn things around.
Yeah, and the Ling Bane do crash into this army once again. It does seem like most, if not all, of the Mulists were dealt with by those Liberators, so really nicely done. But again, yeah, it's been ever since the Liberator anti-air got nerfed, we haven't really seen that, but there were enough. And now Time is finally able to take another base. RagnaroK, though, because of his massive bank, he remaxed this time with Ultras.
Yeah, even getting a couple of Corruptors out right now.
Is this a mistake?
It may be, it may not be. And a couple of Corruptors out now to try and deal with these Liberators. And honestly, what's there on the ground here for Time? Not a whole lot. Most of the supply is up here in the sky, whether it's Medivacs or Liberators.
Yeah, and he has a decent amount of Ghosts as well. Like, this is what he wants against Ultras, and here we go. RagnaroK, he's pushing in.
But unfortunately, the Liberators are up and running. Look at all those Ultras just pop between the snipes and the Liberation zones. Nice little run by here with the links coming out from RagnaroK. And it does actually pull Time back.
And that's what I'm... Yeah, and this is what I mean, like, RagnaroK, he was doing so well with Ling Bane. Like we all knew that he didn't need to go into Ultras, but now that he has, the army for Time is quite good against it. But oh my god, these Corruptors, they are starting to caustic spray this time. Sorry, they get it.
Goes trying to get some snipes down, but don't quite get him. And we've got to the point of nukes.
I didn't even see that a nuke was being built. Here we go, a nuke is going to land here. And again, even though Time, he's been trading more efficiently, like all of these engagements, like RagnaroK has been throwing away money essentially. But RagnaroK, he can afford to do so. Time, not as much.
Yeah, I think we are starting to get to the point where sure, Time has a really good defensive setup, but he is way disadvantaged in terms of the bases. He is not going to be able to bank up to the point, to the way that RagnaroK has. And eventually, I feel like this army is just going to run out of steam, or at the very least, run out of minerals.
Yeah. I feel like Time has like one good engagement in him, and then he'll try and snowball. I think that's probably the best shot he has. If he's able to like kill all the Ultras and just keep pushing and get on top of the production. We'll see if he's able to get into that scenario, as again, like, I favor Time, like his army against RagnaroK's at the moment, because RagnaroK is making
I'm not sure how much longer
like,
I favor Time's army though, as Neural Parasite is on its way. Greater Spire as well, just to try to have a bit of a siege unit to start punishing Time from behind. Or not from behind, but you know, from a more secure location.
Exactly, yeah, like RagnaroK just getting all the upgrades he needs, teching up, but again, like, there are just so many Ghosts here. I feel like, oh my god, that's a lot of stack defense.
That's a lot of static D. And yeah, we can really see how the snipes are paying for themselves many times over. Takes out just about all of the Ultralists, and even a nuke starting to come down. Not any detection, but here come the Overlords. Baiting those links into mine range.
Yeah, like Time, he just keeps trading more efficiently, and does RagnaroK think he's in a ZVP? Like the Spore Forest in this late game scenario is quite odd to me, but he's going for it. This is true. This is true. And the Broodlords are here.
They are starting to show their effects. Fungal being thrown down on these Vikings, and the spores. Here you go. Here we go. Starting to really pay for themselves. Yeah, not a lot can really be done, but look at all these snipes! Should be able to take out most of these Broodlords, but the Fungals do manage to break that line of fire. And most of them have been taken out.
Ooh.
Time is starting to falter.
Yeah, almost all the ghosts got taken out, and with that, that may have been the breaking point for Time. Like, that was like such an expensive loss, and we keep talking about it. Like, Time can't afford those kinds of losses. He had really nice EMPs trying to save those ghosts, but just enough Fungals were used to take the majority of them out. And RagnaroK, he has the money to do it. He's just remaxing.
He is remaxing. And one thing that's interesting to point out is that RagnaroK has been really cautious this series. He will not push out unless he knows he can take the engagement.
That he does not. And I love this from Time. He's giving up the right-hand side of the map, and he's finally starting to push out, which is the right call, especially because Broodlords take so long to move across the map that they're kind of stuck here in the bottom right corner for the time being. So Time, we could see him go for like more of a base trade.
He is sending the bulk of his ghosts back. He is trying to snipe these Broodlords before they can come out.
Ooh.
Infestors have lost a bit of energy to them, but they still have a couple of Fungals left to on them.
Exactly, that's the rough thing, right? Like, I agree, like, Ghosts, they can go in and try and snipe these Broodlords, but the Infestors are not too far behind, waiting for an opportunity to fungal the Ghosts. Just EMP. Meanwhile, we do have a Ling run by to the south, getting more and more SCVs. Oh my god. Yeah, Time, he just doesn't have enough to like split his army and defend here.
He does not, but he's...
But despite that...
He doesn't, but he's ahead in army supply right now.
Yeah, and I was about to say that, to be fair, I don't know how valuable SCVs are. Like, at this stage of the game, he has so many orbitals that, like, mules are maybe all you need.
That's something that has been theorized. I don't think we actually see that too often in actual games. But yeah, Time has 5 orbital commands and only 2 planetaries. Whereas kind of the opposite of what you typically see from Terran.
Yeah, definitely. But like, as you were just showing, honestly, the RagnaroK's army is looking quite terrifying. He has a bit of everything. Like, he has Corruptors, he has Infestors, he has Vipers, he has Broodlords, like, Jesus Christ, and the Spores as well.
Yeah, again, just trying to starve out Time, and I feel like we may be in for a bit of a longer game unless some action really starts to be thrown down.
Assimilation successful.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly, I don't really like that Time is staying here, and the parasitic bomb on top of the Vikings.
All of them taken out. A couple of Liberators go down with them.
Ooh.
This may just be destroyed and bring some camels back. But RagnaroK isn't pressing the advantage.
Yeah, all the Liberators.
Fair, and I guess he was anticipating a bit of a counterattack. He knows who he's up against.
I mean, there's nothing really to stop the Broodlords. That's the thing, though. Like, all the Liberators, all the Vikings, all went down. To be fair, he was able to save the majority of his ghosts, and this Bio army is dealing some decent damage across the map.
Are we the base trade now? We thought we would for a while, but now we might actually get the actual base trade.
Yeah, again, like, I think that's the move for Time. Like, I don't think Time can really engage with this main army of RagnaroK. I think counterattacking and going for the other bases is probably the right move, but it looks like he's coming back home.
He's realized that he's dealt the damage, and if he tried to go for a base trade, he may not win. As he's already he's already lost 2 of his bases, and 2 of his most important bases, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't know how he's gonna engage with the
nice
Broodlords. Like, ooh, nice EMPs.
A couple of these Infestors, but not much else. The Vipers still have a lot of energy, and there's still a lot of Infestors' energy. Another good EMPing, and this is RagnaroK pushing off creep. Time has an opportunity to try to split as well as he can, but I think he's starting to run out of ground. A flank from behind comes in and pins the army of Time. And just like that, we do have our finals ready. A little bit disappointed that Time wasn't able to make it all the way through, but honestly, if there was a player who could beat Time and go on to face stats, I'm glad it was RagnaroK.
Yeah, what a series. I mean, Time, he started off quite strong, you know, with the 2-0 lead, but RagnaroK with the reverse sweep, able to claw his way back in and take it in the end.